I call to order this regular joint meeting of the Minnehaha County and Sioux Falls Planning Commissions, and I will begin with a few introductory comments. The two planning commissions work together on land use and zoning matters within the rural areas surrounding the city. The area is displayed on the screen. When this joint hearing is completed, the joint Sioux Falls and County Planning Commission will adjourn, and the next regular business meeting will begin to consider items beyond the joint zoning jurisdiction with Sioux Falls. Any final action taken on the conditional use permit applications tonight will take effect 5 working days following this meeting unless a written appeal of the Planning Commission's decision is filed in the Planning Office by Monday, February 3rd, 2025 at 5 p.m. In the event of an appeal, the decision will be referred to the Joint County Commission and City Council for a hearing on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025 at or after 5 p.m. The affected parties will be notified of the meeting date. Joint meetings of the County Commission and Sioux Falls City Council are held at Carnegie Town Hall, 235 West 10th Street. Any action taking on the rezoning application during the public hearing tonight is a recommendation that will be forwarded to the Joint County Commission and City Council for another public hearing on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025 at or after 5 p.m. Joint meetings of the County Commission and City Council are held in Carnegie Town Hall, 235 West 10th Street. First on the agenda is public input. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? At this time, the Planning Commission will consider the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are perceived to be non-controversial and meet all of the requirements of the codes and regulations. The consent agenda will be acted on in one motion with no public hearing on the items unless a member of the public, the commission, or staff requests the item be removed from the consent agenda. Next, I will read each item on the consent agenda and ask if there are any issues or comments from the Planning Commission or the audience. If any member of the Planning Commission or the audience would like to be heard on the item, please raise your hand and the item will be moved to the regular agenda to allow you to address the commission later in the meeting. Any items remaining on the consent agenda will be approved by the Planning Commission with the conditions recommended by staff. Item number 1 on the consent agenda is the approval of the minutes of the November 25th, 2024 meeting. Item number 2 is conditional use permit 25-05 to allow a bar and lounge on the property legally described as Lot A of lots 1, 2, and 3, Block 3, Pleasant View Acres. There is an exception of H-1, end of exception, north half, southeast quarter, and the south half, northeast quarter, Section 19, Township 101 North, Range 48 West. That is the Split Rock Township. Petitioner is Christine Johnson. Property owner is Johnson Properties, LLC, and is located at 7605 East Arrowhead Parkway. Is there anyone from the commission or the staff or the audience wish to be heard on this item? Okay, item number 3 is rezoning 25-01 to rezone from PD Mapleton Golf Plan Development District to the A1 Agricultural District, the property legally described as the southwest quarter, the northwest quarter, Section 25, Township 102 North, Range 49 West, Mapleton Township. Petitioner is 19 Flags LLC, that's also the property owner. It's located between Slip Up Creek Road and Interstate 90, approximately 1 mile north of Sioux Falls. Anyone from the commission, staff, or the audience wish to be heard on this item? Item number 4 is conditional use permit 25-06 to exceed 3,600 square feet of accessory building space, requesting 18,325 square feet on the property legally described as Tract 1, 10 Cates Edition, North Half, Northwest Quarter, Section 32, Township 101 North, Range 48 West. That is the Split Rock Township. Petitioner is Mason Prescott. Property owner is GPHQ LLC. It's located at 8201 East 41st Street. Anyone from the commission, staff, or audience wish to be heard on this item? Okay, we will move item number 4 to the regular agenda. Item number 5 is conditional use permit 25-07 to exceed 2,400 square feet of accessory building space, requesting 4,340 square feet on the property legally described as Lot 5, Block 7, Country Acres, Second Edition, Section 31, Township 101 North, Range 50 West. That is in Wayne Township. Petitioner and property owners are Wesley and Sherry Schulling. Location is 26794 Meadow Lane. Anyone from the commission, staff, or audience wish to be heard on this item? Okay, item number 6 is conditional use permit 25-09 to transfer one building eligibility from Lot 2, Block 1, Northern Sites Edition. There is an exception of H-1 and an exception to Track 1C, Ashlawn Farm Edition, Southeast Quarter, all within Section 16, Township 102 North, Range 49 West. That is in Mapleton Township. Petitioner is Craig Indall. Property owner is Susan Brendy, located directly north of 800 East 84th Street North. Anyone from the commission, staff, or audience wish to be heard on this item? Okay. Commissioners, and Cindy Heiberger has to abstain from voting, since she is new.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 4.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, except for item 4, which was moved to the regular agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes on the county side.
On the city side, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 4.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. Passes on the city side.
Thank you. If your item has been approved, you're free to go. Item number 4. Scott.
Thank you. Item number 4, conditional use permit request 2506. This is to exceed the amount of accessory dwelling space. That current requirement is maximum is 3,600 square feet. The applicant is requesting 8,325 square feet. The property is located at 8201 East 41st Street. I will go through the staff report, and I have some photos and a site plan, I think, which will clarify what the applicant is requesting. They are requesting to construct 3 accessory buildings. The proposed buildings will be in addition to an existing accessory building that's already on the property, which is 3,200 square feet, the barn, and then there's a 240 square foot produce stand, which is located in front of the house. The total amount of the accessory dwelling units or the accessory structures will be 18,325 feet. The site plan shows the location of the proposed 3 temporary high tunnels. The applicant has indicated that this will allow them to extend the growing season for the crops that they have been actively working with on the property. They have contacted the NRCS, and they have recommended the implementation of these high tunnels. The City of Sioux Falls has reviewed the request and indicated that should the property be annexed into the city, they would need to meet their requirements as spelled out in their zoning ordinance and building codes. The request, if you're not familiar with a high tunnel, basically it's a greenhouse structure. It's primarily a hoop building with plastic that they place over the ground, help keeps the ground warm, and allows them to extend the growing season in the spring and in the fall. So we look at certain conditions to see how this will blend in with the neighborhood. This property is located on a large subdivided lot. It's about 9.26 acres. And the city of Sioux Falls is located directly to the west of the property. There are many structures, townhomes, residences that are being constructed along in that area. Number two, will this impact the orderly and normal development of the surrounding areas? This property is located in an area where rapid residential development is occurring to the west. There is an existing single-family residential subdivision to the north, which has been developed. Few available eligibilities exist within a quarter mile of the property, so it's unlikely you're going to see residential development, which is not occurring in the city of Sioux Falls. Number three, are there utilities and access roads, drainage and other necessary facilities to service this property? The property takes direct access off 41st Street and already has water and sewer and utilities to the site. Number four, does the property meet the off-street parking requirements and loading requirements? No additional parking requirements would be needed for the accessory buildings. The existing driveway will continue to be utilized and provide ample parking for the primary use of the property. Number five, are there going to be measures taken to control offensive odor, noise, dust fumes, vibrations, and lighting which could constitute a nuisance? It is unlikely that the construction and location of high tunnel or hoop buildings on this property for the use of agriculture would constitute anything that would be considered a nuisance. And then finally, the health, safety, and general welfare of the public and the comprehensive plan are to be considered. The health, safety, and welfare of the public will not be negatively affected by the construction of the proposed accessory buildings. They are to be used for agricultural purposes. The property is zoned A1 agriculture, and the accessory buildings would be in compliance with the surrounding area and conforms with the goals of our current comprehensive plan. So staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit 2506 with 6 conditions. And Madam Chairman, would you like me to read those?
You could, yes.
Yes. So we're recommending approval with 6 conditions. Number 1, that the building location shall adhere to the submitted site plan. Number 2, that the total area of all accessory buildings may not exceed 18,325 square feet. Number 3, that the building shall be an accessory use to the continued use of the property. Number 4, that all new or replacement outdoor lighting shall be of a fully cut off and fully shielded design to prevent light spillage or to prevent direct spillage of light beyond the property boundaries. Number 5, that a building permit is required prior to the construction of the building. Number 6, that the Planning and Zoning Department reserves the right to enter and inspect the accessory building at any time after proper notice is given to the owner to ensure that the property is in full compliance with the conditional use permit conditions of approval and the Minnehaha County zoning ordinance. So I will go through a couple of slides, shows you the property. This is the location directly east of the house. This is where one of the accessory buildings will be located. You can see this produce stand, which was approved with a conditional use permit last year. This is the location, proposed location of another area. You can see that this was in January, taken on January 8th, and they had been actively growing vegetables there. This is looking to the southwest. Also to the south of those existing buildings, southeast, you can see the additional irrigation hoses that they're using to irrigate the property and the agricultural activity of growing their vegetables. This was the south side of the existing barn. You can also see the new construction of residences on the other side of that barn. And I'd be glad to answer any questions you have.
Any questions for him? Guess not at this time. Is the petitioner here? Please step forward, state your name and address.
Mason Prescott, 2310 South Daylight Drive, apartment 324, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Good evening, commissioners. Pretty cut and dry. We're just trying to put some high tunnels over our growing space. We want to extend our growing period, start earlier, and get the tomatoes started earlier, and going later on into the fall. We've been working with the NRCS, and they recommended this especially for soil conservation and the health of that as well. So we've been working closely with Casey there, and she's looked over, and we've gone back and forth a lot of what these tunnels should be looking like, where they should be placed, and they're in full agreement with what we're planning on doing. So that's all I have to say.
Any questions for him? Go ahead, Cindy.
Where are the houses on this map? Are they on this side of the map? mean,
They
people-
are
they're a
on
quarter of
the
a mile.
left side, so the west side,
Okay,
where the cursor is right now.
okay. And they're a quarter of a mile away from your property?
No, we're we're right on the line.
Oh, okay.
So, just over the barbed wire fence.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Joe.
how's the produce stand going?
Slower than I'd like to admit. We got it up, which is really exciting, but we're currently working and talking with people about getting electric out there and everything else set up, but it's been good. Thank you for asking.
Anyone else have any questions for him? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone from the audience care to address this item?
Hi, my name's Carly Kirsch. I live at 8108 East 10 Kate with my boyfriend. So first off, when we bought our house last February, we were under the impression that a single family owned the house and land behind us. One of the main reasons we bought our house was for the view of the dam or the lake in the back that you can see there, and for how quiet, private, and peaceful it was. We are now worried with the building of these greenhouses that we will lose our view, which was a big selling factor for our home. We are worried about the resale value of our home and the townhomes in our area and how this could pose a deal breaker for a future potential buyer. We also feel like we have no privacy because people, mostly men, are constantly in the back where our house and big windows are, sometimes even late into the night this past summer. I have also personally witnessed a drone being flown over our backyard a couple of times while I was back there. And when looking at their YouTube page, there is a video with multiple shots of our home and other townhomes connected to us posted online without our permission. We feel this is an invasion of our privacy as neighbors and potential safety issue. Do they have a license to fly this drone? I guess I don't know how drones work, but I do have pictures of that if you guys would like to see that. And then we found, just according to South Dakota Law 50-15-5, no person may accept as authorized by law intentionally use a drone to photograph, record, or otherwise observe another person in a private place where the person has reasonable expectation of privacy. We feel this is an invasion of our privacy and do not want our house videotaped without our permission. In some of the shots, you can see directly into our homes. And then those are those pictures, but there is sometimes constant traffic even after 10 p.m. some days, and I have personally witnessed cars coming and going even at 2 to 3 a.m. some nights this past summer. There is constant foot traffic and constant noise from their 150 or so chickens. This is not what we were told we were moving next to, and if that was the case, we might not have purchased this house. One of our neighbors in our townhouse building is actually selling their home without even living there for a year due to having no privacy. I guess we want to know what they're doing in the house at 2 to 3 a.m. for a church. In our last meeting regarding the produce stand, we were told that only 3 people are allowed to stay at night, and the rest had to be gone by 10 or 10:30 if I'm not mistaken. We have personally witnessed more than 3 people there at 2 a.m. and up to 6 cars in the driveway past the allotted time. So our question and concern is, what are they doing that late at night for a church? By having these greenhouses, is this just for recreational use, or are they planning on making a business out of this? If you build these greenhouses, are we going to be seeing more foot traffic throughout the day and night in our backyard? And why are they asking for 18,000 square feet for greenhouses? Are you planning on using the produce from the greenhouse to sell and make a profit at your produce stand? From my understanding, the last meeting about the produce stand, you were wanting to have free will pickup of your produce, chickens, or whatever it is you have in there. So now with the greenhouses, are you going to be collecting money from people? This seems to be more geared toward a business than a neighborhood. We feel this may be against the city ordinance that is in place. Also, do they have a license to sell their chicken meat, or how does that work? I don't know. Why do they need so many exceptions for the land here when no one else is asking for this around us? Why have all these rules when we are making exceptions for this property? What is the intent of the current rules if they can just bypass them? And why are these rules are here for a reason, which is for the safety of the community and neighborhood and to follow protocol. And if you keep granting exceptions to the rule, you are putting the surrounding neighborhoods at risk and privacy issues for us who live right next to them. How did the land here get grandfathered in as A1 agricultural land when Empire Homes bought the land adjacent to the property with the expectation of developing it as residential homes? And then why did you buy land right next to city limits that is a neighborhood if you wanted to do all of this on the land? Why not buy an acreage out of town that's not in a neighborhood? And for our property, we can't build a fence tall enough for privacy due to our HOA restrictions and the way that our land sits. We're on a hill and our backyard slopes under, and they're higher than our backyard. So if we built a fence, we would still be able to see everything, or they would still be able to see everything in our yard. And then how many more of these meetings are we going to get letters for? What else are you wanting to build on this land? According to your website, you have 3 phases listed for this land, with the first phase being greenhouses and gardens, the second phase being livestock and dairy, and the third phase being expansion and harvest. When we were here last time for their produce stand, several of the surrounding neighbors spoke in disagreements towards that, but it was still passed. My spouse and I appealed that, but weren't able to make that meeting as I'm a nurse and can't just leave work whenever I want, and my spouse works out of town. So I guess what is the purpose of these meetings if we as neighbors who all agreed against something the first go around don't matter or it gets approved anyway, I guess. And then I don't know if you guys wanted to look at these pictures. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to address this item? State your name and address.
Scott Briggle, 3200 South Bingen Avenue. If you look at the map where Bingen Avenue comes down, it comes right to the edge of their property. They say they're not going to park or influence the traffic. I dare each one of you to come out on that street anytime during the day. The cars, it's 35 miles an hour, and they're just flying. Dirt flies, gravel flies. If they park one car, the ditches are like this, there'll be an accident there. It's guaranteed. The corner of 41st and 6 Mile Road, that red sign that says stop, we call it a rolling stop sign. Nobody stops, they all roll. So if they add, tonight when we drove by, before we come here, there was 13 cars in their driveway. So that's 13 more vehicles added to the stress of what's already there for confusion of traffic. The building of the buildings is one thing, but what are they going to do with the traffic? The roads are so bad now, bumpy and, washboardy. That's my opinion. I'm thinking safety. We pull up to our corner, you do the look back and forth, you better do it about 3 times because somebody's always flying up and down that road. I know maybe it's not them, but if they park or put something out on that road, we will have a problem. Thank you.
Anyone else care to address this item?
My name is Dan Anderson. I live at 7800 East 41st Street, and I just have a couple of questions because she did a really great job. I'm curious of who's financially responsible for the maintenance of 41st Street, because I was told that that was annexed into the city, which would make them responsible. But I see that the township still does the grading, I think. So that's kind of pertinent to what we're talking about with traffic. And then the other thing is, and I talked to Kevin about this last week, but when the market for carrots, radishes, tomatoes, whatever they're gonna go, dries up, can they grow anything else? Is there any limitations there? And of course, I'm thinking about cannabis. So could they switch their cash crop if the conditional use is approved?
Scott, or one of you, can you address that? Sure. Please?
No,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
no, they can't grow marijuana there without going through a permit process.
But they could apply for a permit.
They would have to meet the state requirements and the licensing requirements for a grow facility, and I don't believe the county adopted that option. So you only can have a dispensary. You cannot grow marijuana in the county.
Okay.
I believe that still is a township road. I sat on the township for a long time, and to my knowledge, they still grade it.
Yeah.
So I believe that that's still in their jurisdiction. I don't think that's been annexed in over there to the city yet.
When the development got approved, they said that the road got annexed with the property, with the 10K property.
Madam Chairman, I can probably answer that too.
Okay, go ahead.
I was out there 3 weeks ago. The property, so you can see on this map, the gray area, and the area north of that rapidly developed area that you can see all the townhomes, that has been annexed, that portion of 41st Street has been annexed in and is paved. So basically, the pavement stops very close to the edge of their property. From where it stops and goes further to the east, Split Rock Township is maintaining that.
But I heard that the city was paying Split Rock to do it for them. So there's kind of a gray area there. And I'm just thinking for future, because if this conditional use gets approved, and I think it's a big ask, square footage wise, the road is the biggest issue. Totally, always. You hear it all the time. That's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to address this item before I close the floor?
Terry Munson, I live at 3301 South Bingen Avenue, and my concern was basically the road, and the lady stated a lot of similar things I thought about. And as far as the neighbors, I mean, they're fine, I mean, you know, that part of it. But I am concerned about the different phases, she said, the agriculture and the other stuff growing, you know, and getting bigger and bigger for the residential area. That's what my main concern was. And then the traffic. Are you selling out of that stand, or what's the deal? I mean, I'm not sure. That'd be the idea. So it'd be closer. Anybody
Sir, you can ask the questions, but he should come up to the podium and address it, okay? So we can hear what his comments are.
Oh, okay, well, I could ask him, he can come up after I get done.
After you're done, yeah, if you have the
Okay,
questions.
that was my concerns about when this lady brought up the different phases, which I wasn't aware of, and what the idea is on there. And, but again, it's the traffic, and we've been out there since 75, 74, so we're kind of used to the calmness of it all. But that was my main concern. Thank you.
Would you care to step forward and address that?
Sure thing. Very simply, yes, the produce stand, the idea for it is to be self-serve. I heard you mention earlier free will. The goal is not free will. It will have prices. We said honor system, so the idea is it'll be there. I'm not going to have someone there manning it. I'm just trusting my neighbors to, pay what they say they're going to take. So that is the idea. My goal, I will also just come and say, I'd rather focus on the high tunnels, the question at hand. Any of my neighbors that do have questions, want to talk to me, happy to answer, happy to talk to you even after the meeting, answer any questions or concerns you have, especially any concerns you brought up. I definitely care about that and want to address and talk about it. So, but for now, just more worried about the high tunnels.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm Stephanie Gruner. I'm from 8056 East Ted Kate Place. So that basically they're in my backyard is kind of where I'm located. And you did an incredible job of kind of saying what I wanted to. So thank you very much. But my biggest concern as well was with the privacy. I grew up on a farm and I can guarantee you we were not out at 2 a.m. because we had to wake up early to do everything else. So my concern is just with the privacy and then obviously opening up that stand and obviously with those hoop barns, I guess is what we call them too, hoop barns. Is that going to increase the traffic? There are single people on my line as well, connected to me on the townhome, and it's just a little nerve-wracking with people out there at all times of the day. So can we even put hours on the stand, and can we make sure there aren't people out and about at 2 a.m. walking around with lights on and 15 cars there at a time? That's all that I ask for. Thank you.
It's a good idea if you have questions, maybe between the petitioner and you guys that have the questions, you could get together and you could address them. Okay, I'm going to close the floor. Petitioners? Okay, go ahead.
James Bell, 2310, apartment 324, South Daylight Drive. I'm the assistant farm director. And I just wanted to make a few comments. One, as we're in the high tunnel phase of this hearing, many of the concerns I've heard brought up about the parking, the streets, people not parking on the street, we made sure we covered those in the conditions of the produce stand to make sure that the hours of operation were 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., as well as making sure there would never be a vehicle parked parallel to 41st Street, that they would come into the U-shaped driveway. So just wanted to acknowledge that those provisions are met, and our concern of the utmost is bringing the produce from our farm to the families of our neighbors. So our care for the families of our neighbors is extremely high. The second thing I'd like to mention is, as we heard in the previous meeting, there's a conflict that naturally arises between two differently zoned areas. We have a residential zoned area, which is actually newer than the agricultural use, which was designated for this property, the property south, the property to the east. And so when we moved into this property, we were looking for two things. One, a property that was agriculturally zoned that says, please farm. And another that would be close to the ever-growing city, able to serve for food access and to provide fresh organic produce to the community. So those two things is why we're so close to the city limits, is because we believe that the elementary school or the firehouse or the churches that are nearby, perhaps after they finish their services or they finish school, they might want to come by and pick up a dozen eggs or a bag of spring mix. So that's a focus that we have there. And I find it funny that we always hear, we need more young people in agriculture. We need more young people in the faith. And it's just been such a challenge because it feels like every time I try to get involved in agriculture, or we try to get involved in the faith or express our faith, it seems that there's almost more opposition these days than for it. And so that's been discouraging, to say the least. So we appreciate this hearing where we can look at the rights that we have as an agriculturally zoned piece of land to grow and contribute to the community. I wanted to just acknowledge one other thing. She mentioned the poultry. Do we have a permit, or what's the procedure there? According to South Dakota state law, there's an exempt rule for named PL 90-492 that allows the personal on-farm slaughter of poultry products up to 20,000 birds. We do not intend to process 20,000 birds, I can assure you. But it allows us to process those birds. If it were red meat, say pork or beef, we could not process that on property until we have a USDA inspected processing facility, which also I can assure you we are not intending to build. So that's just one thing. And we also have an egg license. If you'd like to contact the South Dakota Department of Health, you can ask them about our egg license number 3046. So those are just a few of the comments, and I appreciate Carly. She's done her due diligence over and over again, and we do invite you, please. Our phone number is on the farm website, www.graceplacefarm.com. You can call or text us if you have any questions, if you have complaints, concerns, things about public welfare. We would love to address those things. And just a comment about the drones. I believe the South Dakota state law that you mentioned was about using a drone to intentionally capture footage of someone while they believe they're in a private location. So that would be like flying a drone up against the skyscraper window when someone's showering or someone's changing, or specifically circling the property. And any of the drone footage that she provided, and you're welcome to check it out on our website, the focus of all of that is the farming agricultural operations. And we will do our best moving forward to make sure that we're not capturing too much of your property, but most of what we're capturing is just the beauty of the surrounding area, the neighboring surroundings, so we can get an aerial view of what the farm looks like, as well as the active operations, so plowing, tilling. So we believe that as it pertains to this hearing, we are grateful for the city's approval, and we're grateful for the city's recommendation for approval and the county's recommendation for approval, and we believe that that's fair and in accordance with the property as it's zoned. Thank you.
Okay, now I'll close the floor. Commissioners?
Madam Chair,
Becky?
I've appreciated everybody's comments for coming here, and as Chair Bonnie Duffy said, always be sure to communicate with one another. This property is zoned A1 Ag, and as such, the activities that they are requesting are in accordance with a property zoned A1 Ag. And there will be challenges often when there's growth and heavy residential areas butt up against property that's zoned agriculture. But I will be supporting this because at this time the property is zoned A1 Ag.
Go ahead.
A lot of the comments I've already heard and said, I was going to also mention to Carly, it is A1 Ag, and this is a challenge that we come up against when we have the city coming into the county. Part of the reason why we have joint jurisdiction is because the city can't make decisions for the county and we can't make them for them. I understand where you're coming from. I live in the county. I live a long ways from you, but we do have right to farm. What do I want to say? Notice that you have to sign. I have somebody building a house next to me. They have to sign that before they come in. I don't farm my own land. Someone else farms mine, but they farm at 2 in the morning sometimes. I'm used to listening to a combine in the middle of the night. Sioux Falls is going to have some of that because I'm assuming all of that area right there is probably agricultural. I do understand some of your concerns, and I would voice what Mr. Bell said about maybe making those drones try to face into your property instead of the waste from it. Just like, I'm sure they would be happy to comply with what they can. I think I misunderstood too when you had said the 18,323, but that's a total of all their properties. They're only asking for 8,000 in buildings. Is that correct?
They have, if you go to the one, they have a 3,200 square foot accessory building and then that small garden shed. So it's about 10,000 square feet, more or less.
Okay.
But those
hoop
buildings are basically just, you know, tunnels or plastic over some metal tubing.
I just wanted to make the point that it wasn't 18,000 square feet of hoops that we were approving today. So I will also be supporting it. It is A1 Ag, and that's what they're doing.
Anyone else? Or I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval
Second.
of conditional use permit. Oh, no, I lost it. I'm apologizing. I moved my papers around too much.
2506.
There it is, of item number 2506.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion, a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes on the county side.
On the city side, I'll look for commissioner action.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve conditional use permit 2506.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Does that include the 6 conditions as laid out?
Yes, I'll amend that with the 6 conditions presented to staff, or to us tonight.
Very good. Motion and a second to approve with the 6 conditions. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to oppose this request. My memory is trying to serve me here, but it seems like we had conversations about many of the things mentioned by the neighbor with regards to hours and numbers, and that there were expectations at that time that those would be met. It would seem that communication for things that are known only by the applicant would need to be communicated to the neighbors in some form, and it doesn't seem like that's taking place, which would only bode for further issues in the future from that taking place. So that's where I'm at on this.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'll try to keep it brief, but I'll be voting yes on this one tonight. I look at the present zoning of A1 agricultural, and I just don't think that this conditional use permit takes it grossly far away from what this property was intended to be. So I look to the existing zoning and think that we're not that far off from that, so I'll be voting in favor of it. I also think, I don't have a map of what the rest of the zoning is to the east there, but I imagine that's A1 as well, so it seems to fit.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign.
Yes.
It passes on the city side.
Thank you. Any old business?
No.
New business?
No.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes on the county side.
City side.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned on the city side.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good night.